Cool. So let's get started. So welcome everyone to Community Learning number 8. Actually, Juliane was kind enough to offer to share her experience building proposals from the clients she's had already. She's a proud member from Landa's cohort 3. And yeah, I think Juliane, it would be nice if you can give us a bit about your background, your consulting experience, and get right to it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, well, I'm Juliana, as Pedro said. I'm from Switzerland, but I had the chance to work for over 8 years in Latin America. Right now, I'm based again in Switzerland, although I try to travel from time to time back to LatAm. And basically, well, so far my professional journey has been much more around startup and entrepreneurship. So at first, I worked in Brazil with a company called Aliança Empreendedora, which is an NGO that supports entrepreneur in communities, favelas, or low-income communities as well. So it was more like entrepreneurship, like per necessity. It was a really great experience. And then I joined Seedstars. I don't know if you know, it's an investment fund and accelerator for startup in emerging markets. And I was the one like taking care of Latin America. So it gave me the opportunity to travel all around the region, basically. And after that, I joined Platzi, which is one of the best, if not the best, e-learning platform for Latin America, teaching digital skills to more than 5 million students right now. I was with them for a bit more than 3 years, and I left in December last year. And since then, I decided to do first a kind of semi-sabbatical, having time for sport, traveling, and part-time taking some freelance gigs with companies and so. So always in my jobs, I was more in charge of business, operations, sales, biz dev. So I had to do different type of proposal. And honestly, the session today, I'm not expecting to kind of show you the best template and winning proposal, even if I would love. The title of the session is pretty catchy. Maybe the magic behind it is not here though, but I was thinking it's a cool space to kind of show you what I'm doing, what is working for me. And then you can complement and say, hey, me for that point, I present it like this, and that works also really well. And so, right, so that we can have kind of a collective knowledge of the good hacks for building proposal and how to increase our chance of winning. So that's basically the whole ideas. And I will also present you some kind of the tool that I'm using to help me. We just talk about one, about like the assistant we have right now in the call with ReadMe. So I learned something thanks to Pedro. But I think at the end we can also share everyone, okay, me, I'm using that, I have tested that, and so. And that way, again, it's a collective knowledge and interactive session, okay? And I don't know if I should add something or if you want to complement something, Pedro, otherwise I will directly go into the topic.
Go for it, Julian.
It's a dog?
Yeah. Sorry
Even,
about that. I just have a
the
little
dog,
puppy right now. I can't.
sorry, I think it's pretty cool that even the dog wants to learn how to do a proposal. Okay. So, well, basically the first thing, I think it's an important point, let's see what you think also about it, is if you want to increase the chance of winning a proposal, actually we should start and go some step before. The best way, I guess, to increase probably by over 50% the chance to win is to have built relationship with your potential clients, right? So I think right now that we are all proactively networking all the time for companies that we work for, or even for ourselves, it's always super interesting to say, okay, let's have those people in mind. Let's kind of try to keep in touch, go sometimes for coffee, know what they are doing, what they need, not with kind of a sales mindset, but just to kind of build a relationship. And at some point, let's believe in serendipity. At least for me, it has worked pretty well. Suddenly they need something and they will probably come proactively to you. And it kind of generates an inbound sales that is pretty cool, because it's much easier to close a deal that comes from inbound than outbound. And so some example of, for me, how to kind of build trust and relationship that has worked. From the mandate I have earned this year, some come from my previous work experience. So some partner I had when I was at Platzi or Seedstars, when they knew I was no longer working at those company, they reached out to me, even if I was not saying proactively that I was doing freelance. And they tell me, hey, I have to build this, could you help me? And so like former clients or even former colleague or former, for example, startup that I have helped for me, were a good network where I could like got my first kind of gigs. Then I won't come from a conference. So even if I know sometimes you're like, he's losing time, at least I'm like, he's losing time to go to conference. Usually I like to screen who are the speakers and who is going. And then I add them on LinkedIn saying, hey, I saw you from far in conference. Shame we couldn't talk, even if you're not there. Actually, to go there can help because you really build some kind of trust after. So one came from a conference I was last year in Spain in South Summit. I guess you know some South Summit. They also do some event in Brazil and in Colombia. And I went there and I just like was like, I had some free times and I was like turning around the different booths. And at some point, I stopped over like the government of one of the region of Spain. And we started talking just like this, curiosity, and I was super intrigued about what they were doing. And at some point this year, I was like, hey, I need someone to help me for a soft landing program. And so literally we had talked 10 minutes, but he remembered me. And like, I also remember him when he reached out. And then I'm sure like it helped definitely to kind of win the proposal. And so like going to conference, workshop, or like community events, I guess it's also sometimes was the time. And again, go with this kind of curiosity mindset to just like get to know other people and not trying necessarily to sell yourself or your services. And that will help you to build trust. Another way that is working for me is like getting intro from trusted person. So sometimes I didn't know my end clients, but someone that I knew tell me, hey, I know this company, they are looking for someone to help them with the sales strategy. Are you interested? And they introduced me. And because they trusted and liked the person that introduced me, kind of, I don't know if you have read this book, I will share with you at the end. It's Influence by Roberto Cialdini, and he talks about the 5 ways of influencing people. And one of them is liking. So basically, if you like someone or if someone like you, you increase the chance to kind of convince him to do something, right? So if you get introduced by someone they like and trust, they will kind of trust you as well. And that's a super cool way to also like get to some leads. And the last 2 ones, they are more like a long time. One is long time journey. It's just reputation. So sometimes, when you have those ethical questions, or should you do that or not, kind of earn a bit more, or should you tell this or not? I guess I try to always also have in mind what is going to be your reputation if suddenly like something goes wrong and so. And at the end, like I think it takes time to build reputation, but you can also like destruct build it like destroy it apart in a very short time. So try to always take that into consideration. And the last one is really simple one. I was hesitating to put it, but honestly, do a good LinkedIn profile. Because sometimes for example, sometimes I have to, for my clients, to propose speakers or even to propose startup, and they go to the LinkedIn and say, I checked the LinkedIn. It doesn't look they have that much experience, or it doesn't look they have that much followers on their startup company. It's not necessarily the criteria to assess if someone is credible, experienced, and skilled, but that's the fastest way people do a short screening. So I guess having a good LinkedIn with nice picture, clear statement of what you are doing, some link to your project as well, can help to kind of build trust and credibility. So that's for the first point of how you can build trust, find leads through trust and relationship building. And I talk about networking from previous work experience, conferences, getting intro from trusted person, taking care of your LinkedIn, and taking care of your reputation. And I don't know if you have other like points to sum up or other idea on building trust and relationship. Maybe we can like just take 3-4 minutes to also exchange on that point.
I maybe would just add in those conversations you're having through like a trusted introduction, or maybe in my case it was full call outbound at first, but sometimes you build trust even by the questions you ask, right? So if you
Mhm.
ask the right questions, they understand that you understand what their problem is or what you're talking about. So yeah, I would just add that.
Yeah, totally. Like the genuine interest as well, right? That you have.
Exactly.
Great. I mean, we can continue, and at the end, you can always like come back with some extra ideas. And actually, that was my second point, right? The first time the person comes to you proactively asking for help, uh, and I'm sure you all do that because otherwise you would not be here. But try to really take time to understand what is their problem, what is the pain, what kind of help they need, and ask yourself, am I the right person? Because sometimes it's kind of great, it came to me. I want to get one more mandate, but sometimes I'm also like, that's not my kind of best skills, right? And I'm maybe not the right person for it. And also be able to say, hey, no, this one is not for me, thank you so much, but I'm gonna refer you to that person, right? And then you keep building credibility, and you also help them to find another one, and maybe another time they will come to you to something you can really help. So like take time to listen and understand the need, and as Pedro said, asking a lot of questions more than talking about your experience. That's what is helping a lot. Common rule when you are in a sales process, right, to ask more questions than you talk. But sometimes we tend to forget it also because often part of us, we are extroverted people, and we love to talk about everything and what we have done, and share. But like the best at that moment is just to listen, ask questions, dig in, and so on. And then we can go into the actual proposal. So I was thinking to talk a little bit about the structure I use, and then just like the kind of forming the forms of the proposal behind. I'm doing a bit of French English today, but yes. Okay, so the actual proposal. So the structure I usually use, and I will go through it very fast, and then I will share with you a template, and we will go through the template. So usually I love to talk a little bit about the company eventually. If we had, for example, a long discussion about who is the company, where they stay right now, and so I love to put a little bit of a summary about the company, what they are doing, what are the objective right now, what have they managed to achieve, and so. Just because I think it's a great way to paraphrase what they have been telling you, and that way they really see that you were super actively listening, right? So take like 1, 2, 3 paragraphs to talk about the company at the beginning. It can be super helpful, and it can prove to your clients potential that you are actually listening, and that you understood the where they are, what they are managing to do great, and what is the issue they have right now. And then the second point, the first one I would not say is necessarily mandatory, but the second point, yes, I always start with the objective after. So what's the objective, or what's the need, right? And then in one sentence, you describe the objective, very streamlined. And then sometimes you can add sub-objective to show that you really understand like what they are trying to get through this collaboration. Once you have that, you can eventually add a little part about kind of who you are, or what kind of project you have worked for, and so. Honestly, it's very rare I do that, because so far most of the mandate I had, people know me a little bit, and we had two meetings before I sent the proposal where I also explained, yeah, in that project I did that, and so they already had a good overview. But sometimes it can be helpful if like your contact person is not the decision maker, right? And they need to pitch it to their boss or so, that you can like give some credit by showing what you have done, and so. So this is like the third part eventually you put. And then before that, I put also the deliverable after the objective. So I have the objective, and then what we are going to achieve. And this part, I will go through it a little bit after, but it's a very tricky part that I think we need to be very careful. But putting deliverable at least like build credibility and show that we know what we want to achieve with them. And after you go to the how-to. So you have the objective, the outcome we expect, and how we are going to get there. So it's kind of, if you are working also with experiment design is what is the hypothesis and how we are going to test it. So it's like, what is the objective and how we are going to get there. So you put basically the whole process and you explain how you are going to deliver the services and so. And after I put the timeline so that they can see step by step when is going to be the step 1, the step 2 of the process, and they can like realize better how it works. And at the end, after the timeline, I put the economic proposal and then my contact. So if we look at a template that I have done, let me try to share my screen. I think it's gonna be this one. So if you like, I will probably give it to Pedro after to share it within the community. I just ask to not share it directly on social media because even if I hide the name of the partner, and so I guess it's pretty easy to know who I'm helping. And so like just for my reputation and credit after that I will thank you if you keep it for you. So basically first the title proposal for the name of the partner, and then basically in a very short line what it is about. So here it was about soft landing program for Latin American startup. Sometimes it about building a sales strategy and experiment. So you have like different kind of option that kind of very easily say what is gonna be what you're gonna be talking about. In this one, because the partner was a government and it was the first time they did that program, I didn't really do a summary of who is the company. But for example, when I have a startup that I'm helping and that they already have achieved some stuff, some other stuff didn't work, I like to put this before the objective here. And then I go over the objective. So here I did main objective and then sub-objective. So here the objective was to promote, source, and get application for I'm Girl startup with revenue and from Latin America to the program of this partner, which aim to introduce the benefit of expanding to country X. And then the sub-objective. So if you want to promote, source, and get application, what does that mean? So first is raise awareness about the program by getting X publication, collaborate with at least X player of the ecosystem so that they can promote the program in front of their audience, and source myself a list of X startups that that are fitting the criteria, and present them, invite them to apply, calling them. So here you are already kind of a little bit of the deliverable, but it's in a formulation of objective. So sometimes it's less like visual. So that's why after I put the deliverable, which is basically the outcome I commit to reach by working for them. So here I put the minimum of publication in press, the outreach partner that are gonna publish, the startup I would specifically invited, and the number of startups selected for the retreat. We had a huge conversation because they wanted me to put how many startup application I will get for them. And I didn't want to add that KPI, although I understand why they wanted it, because it was the first time ever they did that program. So I had absolutely no idea if startup in Latin America will find it attractive, first. Second, working on how many applications you will get when you also depend on the landing page that you are not building and it's another partner from them building it, it's quite of hardcore. Plus, I was still depending on them sometimes, like if startup need more information and I didn't have this info, how long they do to answer. And so when you don't have full control of the full process, I advise to add deliverable, but only if you are quite sure that you can like control it. Even press, I told them, hey, this is a range. It might be a little more, it might be a little less, because like working with press is always kind of tricky. But yeah, so that's why like we had kind of this conversation. That's gonna be a topic I will be super interested to hear from you when you put the KPI or the result you commit to reach, like how you do it to kind of show you're ambitious and will get result, but at the same time, make sure that you have control of what you promise, right? So that was the part for the KPI. And then you go into the how-to. And you have here, so first is like, first define what kind of startup you want. Might be very silly, but if you need to sort startup at get application, better to be very clear on what do they expect in kind of the type of startup, right? So here you have the deliverable, like the profile, sorry, they wanted digital product that can scale internationally, a revenue of over 10K, and an interest to go to that country. No preference in terms of industry. Then the promotion and visibility, so working with press, doing a media kit, then a press release, and then contact potential outreach partner. In that case, the outreach partner are the ecosystem enabler. So I put some example of who I will contact and who I will work with, and then the KPI related to that phase. Then third phase, dedicated sourcing, which is myself. I will reach out to my network and I will look for startups that match the criteria, email them, call them myself if needed, and really like follow up to make sure I can get some of them applying. And here I put the minimum of startups that I will personally invite, and I share them the list. But I didn't put how many will apply at the end, because for me it was much harder to kind of have control and an idea on that. If we do a second edition, eventually I will do it, because I know more or less the percentage that we got from the people I invited to the one that applied. So I guess you can take and benchmark yourself with the past and propose something. But for first edition, no. And then the startup selection, or we will do it, what will be the process, and so on, right? And after you go to the timeline. So this is not necessarily mandatory. Actually, I was working with a startup helping in sales, and I reviewed their proposal as well. And they were never adding a timeline. And I suggested to add it just because I think for the potential clients, it helps to visualize the plan and to have an idea of when things could get done. And it kind of fosters the commitment to see that, right? So I guess it kind of help like influence the yes by saying, hey, actually they have a plan, they know when that can be done, it's pretty clear, and we know the date and so on. So I guess that's why I would advise to add a timeline. And then the last part is the economical offer. So for this one, I always go with a table like this, super simple. Activities and the amount in euro or in dollars, usually is the two currency that I can accept. And then I have two ways to do. Or I put everything that I will do, that is again, like you can see it above, in a very summarized way, and the total price. I love this because then you don't break down the cost, or like you don't break down the activities, and it's harder for them to say, actually we will not take promotion and visibility, because they are like, okay, it's gonna be a total of X amount, and they take it like this. And so sometimes they are like, they will see that and they will say, okay, that's fine, but could you break down the activities and the phases more or less in what it is? So here I try to first like explain that it's hard to do, and so depending like what they need. But for some phases, it is like I do it, and I would put like promotion and visibility and dedicating sourcing, for example, because this really needs to go hand in hand, in my opinion. I will put them together, how much for this phase will be, and selection of startup, I will put another total, and then you put the full total at the end, right? So try to kind of, even when they really want a breakdown, to make sure you add all the activities that needs to be together so that you can reach the full potential and the success of the proposal in the same block of budget. And by any case, avoid to give your hourly rate, because yeah, sometimes then it's harder, then they will like try to make you work per hours, or then they will come back during the execution and say, actually this month it's a bit harder, so can you not work this week or reduce your work? And so I feel like with hourly rate it's a bit harder. Sometimes what I have done though is to put like number of hours approximately I will do for months here. I don't think it's necessarily smart, but let's see what you will say after. So you put like number of hours per month, let's say 20. And here I will put the full total and so on. So they will divide the total by the number of hours, and I have kind of an ideas. And yes, right. So I don't think it's necessarily smart, but with startup I have done it. also because at the end I'm happy if they start struggling to pay me or with something else. I prefer to say, okay, let's find a way and help you, and like maybe reducing my hours, and so on, right? I will not necessarily reduce my price though per hours if they have like managed to calculate it and so, but rather reduce my commitment. And yes, and here be ready to justify your price. That was my other element here. Often, I don't know if it for you is the same, but often I say, it's that amount. It sounds okay, a little expensive compared to what I thought or so. And try to explain them, I can understand, but look, if you will be to hire, I don't know, an accelerator to do that for you, you will pay probably 1.5x more or 2x more, right? So try to have some ideas already before sending the proposal of how you would justify your price, why it's fair, and why at the end working sometimes with consultant also help them save money. Or if you will hire an employee for that, you will have to pay him for like probably a year at least. Well, here we can do that over 5 months, and then you don't have to kind of do all the onboarding stuff and paying the social charges and so. So sometimes like helping them to see the value behind also help, and then also like show the value you have the work itself, right? But that's it. And then I put the payment scheme. So here, for example, it didn't include a success fee. So we negotiated a success fee. If the startup I will have found will apply, they will pay me something additional. And if they incorporate at the end, they will also pay me a success fee for that. So that's something that is not in the pricing here. So this is something we'll negotiate over another document. To be honest, here I was pretty lucky. It's just that they have a program for paying people that help them find startups. So it was another program they had, which I had to register and so. And then I like to do payment scheme where they pay me 50 or 30% at the beginning and then the rest at the end. Because for me, cash flow wise is not an issue to do that. And I just think it helps again to build trust, and show that you are really commit. Like, okay, I'm fine, go with part of the payment at the beginning and the rest at the full hand. It's kind of showing that, yes, you will commit, you will deliver result, because you want to make sure that the money also gets in at the end. And usually they appreciate that, and it goes pretty fast to kind of negotiate this, right? But I really,
just
yeah.
a quick point there, Julian. It also works the other way around, right? So you can also gauge how invested they are if they're going to pay 30% upfront.
Yeah. What do you mean?
So if, for example, that there are many proposals where you get paid like at the end, or I don't know, week by week, or depends on the case. But if you ask for a like good piece of it up front, it also helps you gauge what type of client you have, right? So if they're willing to commit like a big part of it up front, works both ways. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's actually a very good point, because sometimes you enter into a proposal where they need help, but then the person that is supposed to kind of work with you, the CEO or so, sometimes they have a ton of things to do, and then like if they don't, I think if they don't pay something upfront, they will take it eventually more easily or like less seriously, and definitely like paying upfront like 30% is still like also a commitment from their side, right? So it works from both sides totally. Good point. And then I just put a proposal till when is valid, this proposal. So usually 10 days after. I'm not sure this really works, but it's kind of in the work of Cialdini, they talk about the principle of scarcity. So if they see something can have a hand, they also stress out the process. And so honestly, this works for companies that are pretty flexible, startup, or any company with like fast decision process. If you work with government or corporate or public funding, at the end, like they just follow their own timeline, and yep. But you can sometimes stress them on showing them like, if we still wait, what is going to be the downside for their program at the end, and so on, right? So yes, that's it for the proposal template. Maybe just a little 2 comments about kind of also like the wording and so. So first, I'm a big fan of keep it simple, keep it lean. So I haven't done any Google slide or any slide proposal this year. Everything is made with Google Docs, simple texts, bullet points, no long paragraph, no long stories, and so. Eventually, you can add an annex with some example of former project you have done before and screenshot of, I don't know, a social media post where you build it, or screenshot of a sales forecast you have done, and so that they like make it more visual. But otherwise, I do it just like this. So keep it super simple and try to avoid like long text and so, because people don't read. This is proven. I mean, at Platzi, we were always sending like slides at the beginning, and even at Seedstars, and we will track it with DocSend, and people literally spend 30 seconds on your proposal. So if you have a proposal of 30 slides, they will definitely not look at it with full attention. Plus, it's going to take your time to build it. That's my opinion, at least. And the second is try to use the words that they are using when you are talking with them. So sometimes they will call a program by a specific name. Sometimes they will like use different type of wording, vocabulary. Try to always like use those words again in the proposal, because then it's much easier for them to understand what you're gonna deliver. So pay attention to that as well, I will say. So that's the 2 points on that part. And yes, I don't know if someone has a question or would like to add something. Otherwise, I quickly go through the last part, which is showing you the tool that I'm using to help me. And yeah, Amaury, go ahead.
As Juliane, do you always work with written proposals? Don't you sometimes just write an email or something? Or have you ever written emails or proposals this way, but at the end you had some issues with the clients because things were not complete enough? So like downside, good sides of writing a formal proposal.
Yeah. So far for like the freelance mandate, I always built a proposal, but sometimes before to go to this writing proposal, I will exchange some email with the main ideas and the bullet point and more or less the range. Also for the economical part, try to get the budget, right? Always try to know how much were you thinking to allocate for that and so. And if you have bulk trust or so, usually they kind of give you a range. Or sometimes they're like, honestly, I have no idea, and just target like shoot what you can, right? And so, and at the end, like you know more or less your hourly range. So if they are not able to pay that, then like better to focus on another one, right? Unless it's a startup you really love and you want to help them, sometimes I do other kind of rate, but that's personally to everyone. But like for corporate or government, I will not change my rate. And then I like to send a written proposal just because it's also helped me to visualize what's the objective, what is the potential timeline, and see if it works with my life timeline as well, because maybe I have another mandate and then I realize if I propose this that way, I'm gonna struggle to deliver or so. So actually it's also a tool for me to process what I'm gonna work on in the coming months. And it takes me usually like 30 minutes to build a proposal like this. As you see, super simple, like in the forms and so. So yes, I haven't got someone telling me this, could you add a lot of stuff? But sometimes I was talking about that with Pedro. When you know the people really well, sometimes I share the proposal in a Google Doc, and I'm like, can you suggest or tell me stuff I should add so that we get the yes, right? Because usually it not depend of one person only, but like 2 or 3. And so they will like, the COO will help me add some stuff because the CEO want to see that. Here, for example, my contact person will had asked me to add some more deliverable because he knew like his boss would like to see more commitment before to say yes. So I try to kind of collaborate to know what I need to change. Now, back when I was at Seedstars and Platzi, sometimes when you work for public tender, when you have the call to application and you propose your services, then here you have to go over another kind of, so here you will write long paragraph, explain who you are, explain what you are going to do in text and so on. And like a proposal like this will not go through. So like for public tender, you need to actually do a little thesis, like when you're at the university, but like of, I don't know, 10 pages, point by point, and so on. But otherwise, the rest, I never had issue. Look, another thing I never had issue, for example, a lot of people say, yeah, but you need to send the proposal in Spanish because it's a Spanish, Latin companies, they like English is not like ideal. And honestly, I think just because for me it's easier to write in English, usually will ask, hey, if I send a proposal in English, is it fine as well? And I'm like, yeah, what is easier for you? I never had a problem with that. So honestly, even I work with a one government project in Paraguay this year, and I was like, this for sure I will have to, well, look here, I did the proposal in Spanish because I was like, for sure it has to be. But then they were telling me, oh, actually, if you prefer do all the report in English, it's fine as well, right? So I'm sure I would have sent the proposal in English and it would have been fine. So for me, the languages hasn't been a problem. I don't know if it's also like a benefit I have to be like, I'm Swiss. So they think, okay, poor her, in Spanish she will struggle, let's help her. But maybe if Massimo or Andres ask for it, they would be like, no, right? And so, but yes. And yeah. Sorry, I took a long time to answer a simple question.
Thank you very much. And maybe a quick reaction. I mean, for this kind of job or scope, there's no reason to commit to result. I think like what you were offering is very much like a PR media agency where you commit to how much means you put inside a project to get some results, but you can't be judged for the final results.
Yeah, I think it's a good point.
And I think even so for next year, you still shouldn't commit for the next, but you can still talk about your track record. So last year we had 100 people who applied, and I believe we could try to work on a 25%, 50% more, thanks to more awareness. But you still shouldn't say like make APIs. Like we will be working together to achieve this goal, but maybe not commit yourself to a certain number of.
Yeah, I think definitely that's the ideal, right? Or to frame it and say, no, I don't commit to that myself, but like we can put the goal we have together toward it and we will try to achieve, but like it's not like I'm owner of the result, right? Yeah. And usually you say that like this and they are okay with that, or like how you kind of frame it?
I mean, they have it's the only where it can work. I mean, they will have to understand at least like that your job, like at the end you have, I don't know, talking about journalists, like your media PR agency, you say like, yes, we bring together a community of 100, we create relationship, we have this relationship, we build them, etc. We have direct access to this kind of journalists. So I will do all the job, like the PR, like the writing, everything. But at the end, you can't commit that how many journalists will come to the press conference. But you will. But your job is having this network, being able to contact all these people, and this is what makes you a valuable person or agency at the end.
Yeah, definitely. And at the end, as you said, I think sometimes I have the thing I need to prove it, and that's what I do this, and that's probably wrong. And our work together as a community is to change the mentality as well, right? Here you're gonna work with top performers from Landa or whatever, and that's how we work. We will commit to the process. Usually it works well, but I'm not the owner for the result because there are too many layers, right? That makes that it might work, it might not work. And to avoid to be always in this jail of delivering everything when you can't control the full process.
Yeah, correct.
Great, thank you. I will just go quickly to the tool I use. That way, maybe someone can, some of you can also share. Well, honestly, you have seen Google Doc. Then I also love to use Grammarly. I don't know if you know, it's an application that you can also plug to Google Doc to help you with grammar, syntaxes, and so on. So of course you have the Google Doc corrector, but honestly, Grammarly is one step further, at least for English. And I have seen there is a startup, I forgot the name, I commented on LinkedIn yesterday, from Latin America, and they are kind of building the Grammarly for Spanish world. Yeah, I will find it and share to the Slack after. But I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I was like, if that works as well as Grammarly, I can now write my proposal in Spanish very fast, right? So I was super excited about this one. But that's super cool because at the end of the day, if you send a proposal full of typo, the credibility is also harder to get, right? Then another one that I use a lot is right now ChatGPT. Sometimes just because, you want to kind of find another way to frame your objective, you're not really satisfied with it, or you don't know, you are a bit stuck. I think like they can help you to reframe it, and so, or sometimes suggest you some process. If I want to get that, what process would you recommend? And at the end, it's never what you're gonna write, but sometimes when you are stuck, they kind of help you to unlock the brain and start working. So I guess anytime I'm working on a proposal, I have ChatGPT just next to me, and will like do that. Or sometimes I'm like, not for proposal necessarily, but like when you need to do report after, depending with your client, can you summarize this? Can you help me? And so, right? So it's super cool tool for like working as a freelance in many ways. I guess if you do outbound, Pedro mentioned he did cold email at the beginning. Like it can also help you like test very fast different way to formulate your email and so, and just like unlock the creativity. So it's more of an associate to give you a new idea than the person that really did the work, I feel, but yes. Then if you are really like super into consulting, have a lot of clients, it's really your mainstream revenue stream, and you are 100%, 120% on that, you are starting to grow a team around you. Or if you're working at a company right now and do take care of business developers and sales team, I love to use back in the time PandaDoc. PandaDoc is basically a software I'm gonna share here that helps you to build proposal in a very fast way. Now that I think, I don't know if Emory maybe are gonna disagree with me, but it's kind of a no code of proposal because basically you just can build your block in the dashboard, and you build the objective block with a sentence that you will always use, and you put a tag where you can like change or select an option, and then you do the payment block, the term and condition block, and you just drag and drop depending on what you need on any proposal, right? So you can add a timeline with that drop and so on. So that's pretty cool because when you have a sales team, usually everyone starts to do his own way of proposal, putting his own words, and at the end it kind of become a potpourri of things. Here you can like just have a template that is the same for everyone, using the same wording, and then they are still able to tweak some things according to the needs of the clients, right? So that's a pretty cool one. And what is also good is like it will keep track record of all the proposal you have sent. And I know with Drive, it also works sometimes, but the problem when your team grows, sometimes they will keep it in their own Drive because they forgot to put it in the public Drive for proposal. And so at PandaDoc, at least they don't need to figure out where they need to put the proposal. Everything is in the same place and so on. And yeah, you say Notion, Amaury, go ahead.
I mean, I think Notion, I mean, Landa already use it, but I feel like to write proposal, you don't have to pay attention to all the format of the writing. You can play with pages. It's much more modular, and you can share. So I mean, you still have the comments, but if you start working with it as if it's a database, you can really sort your stuff the right way and really track in a better manner, like this, where you are about this proposal. If it was like, you can start building your own CRM, put it as Airtable, Notion, but since it's more written content, I would rather use Notion.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I like Notion. At the end, we also use it for so many things, I feel. So you have always like everything in one place. And yes, I'm more like still sticking to Google Doc for proposal, but like definitely, at least the formatting, it's as like it's easy to do, but you can get much more like nicer things in the way you present it with Notion, right? And then the tracking is easier than losing stuff over many drives and so. Cool. So PandaDoc. Then again, if you have a team, and so a tool that you might want to invest is DocSend. DocSend just help you once your proposal is made on Notion or JDoc, you kind of upload it on DocSend, and then you just share the link to your clients. I don't know if you have read the Atlantico report. You should, if you haven't. It's about startup technology in LatAm. They just launched it like last week. And the Atlantico report, you receive it through a JDoc, right? So you put download, and then you arrive to when you open it, it's a JDoc. And it's cool because you can check if the person has actually opened the proposal, and then if it has actually go over it. And then you know how much intensity when you go to the call together to go over it, you need to dig in and so on. Because if you see they have put 10 seconds on the proposal, probably they haven't paid attention. If you see they stay during 3 minutes on the pricing or so, I don't know, like that could help. I would say it's still pretty like a certain amount per month. So it's really useful when you start to have a bigger team, when you also have like some budget to allocate to that and to data analysis and so on, and that you are really like doing many proposals per week, in my opinion. And so maybe at the beginning it's not like the must-to-have tool, but like try it for the free version for 15 days is pretty cool to check. And that's where I learned that sometimes doing like long slide proposal, honestly, like data said is not necessarily what it takes to win, right? The next one is super simple one, and maybe you will love, maybe I'm the only one to using that, is I love PDF. Because, sometimes you write the proposal, you send the PDF, and then they will just tweak it a little bit because they need to add some stuff, especially it's like they are more corporate or government, and then they resend you the PDF. And you need to add your name, sometimes you need to add your passport in the contract number or whatever. And sometimes the PDF they send you is not friendly at all to add those details. So with I Love PDF, you upload the PDF and you can easily like edit stuff. I don't have the PDF editor paid version, so that's why this helps me. And then if you need to sign, sometimes the PDF that they send you, they don't allow you to sign. So you go to I Love PDF and you can easily sign and so. Honestly, it's very rare that I have that now, but still this year I had to use it twice. So it's a tool that I always have under hands if needed. And there are a lot of tools when you type on Google PDF signature edition that appears in the first page. And so you will edit everything and then you will send. And then they will send an email with a link to pay for it. And so you lose so much time. At least me, I was losing so much time with that. So now I register I Love PDF, which I know is working and for free. And yes. And the last one, I think it's cool to start using. I don't know if you have used Slide AI. Slide AI is also, you can have a free version, and it's basically a tool that generates you slide, and so slide deck or so on with Google Slide. So you just like, let's open one, for example. Here, you just like open like slide on JDoc, and you go to extension. Of course, you have to add it, Slide AI, generate slides. And for example, it should come, and then you write what you want to write about, right? Let's see, no, it's pretty slow. So you will have a window popping up. And basically, they will ask you, what do you want to write about? Title. And then you also have a lower box where you can add more details. And then it generates slides. So I did the exercises yesterday to write a presentation about how to win a proposal. Just that, I just put the title. And they generated me this presentation. So how to write a winning proposal, the overview of this presentation, the summary, importance of winning a proposal, key element, overview of the presentation, and then they go deep in. They talk about understanding the requirement, what we talk about listening to the clients, identifying the needs. I never ask him about that, right? I just talk about how to win a proposal. And then he put like what are the compelling part of an executive summary. So for example, I don't think we needed an executive summary. He added that. So I don't think those presentations are perfect. But basically, I think sometimes when you have a client that really want to dig in the process, or you will realize things and so on, and you need to make it very visual, it can still happen. Or when you need to do a report, that kind of tool is pretty cool to start testing, because they can like at least get started with your presentation. Again, unlock your creativity, and then you just like go and change some stuff, add some slide, and it's easier to get started, I feel. And eventually, at some point, it's gonna be really good, and that will save us a lot of time to build proposal or report and so. So I also wanted to share it in case you haven't tested now, because it's pretty fun, and I think it's gonna be pretty interesting how it will evolve. And yes, that's it. I don't know if I didn't touch on my screen, so let me. So the one I was telling about is this one here. So that's the presentation it generated me with Slide AI. How to write a winning proposal. That's the only information I gave him. And then it generated me this whole presentation about, he also talked about understanding the need, what I was saying. Then he showed the structure. He talked about the payments and so on. So I thought it was pretty good level for an AI and for building the first slide. And yes, not perfect, but to have an eyes on it. Okay, now I'm done. You can like go share. I'm super curious, honestly, if you know any other tool, or if you have any stuff that you add in your proposal and that you think has helped to get a yes. Super interested to learn about it.
Have you ever found yourself, have you ever found yourself in competition with other competitors? It's more sales related question, but
yeah. So that's a good question. This year once, yes, because it was a public, the client was public, so they had to ask for other proposal. That's I felt in a kind of, let's say, unfair competition, because I was the one able to build the proposal first. They will tell me all the requirements, and then they went to ask proposal to other players. So you feel quite confident, and they try to help you so that you have the best proposal. Again, probably it was the case because I had the trust, right? So again, sometimes always like reminding ourselves that the conversation we have today can kind of pay later, even if we are not thinking at all that we will like work for that company or so. And yes, but back when I was like leading sales in Platzi and Seedstars, always, and especially, for example, Platzi, people that will look for learning and providing learning to the employee, as soon as they are corporate and very structured, they need to come with different proposal, because then they need to get to finance department, right? So most of the time we will knew that Creana will be there, Coursera, Udemy will be like the other company that we will have to kind of face and hopefully won in front of them, right? And so.
And the fact of knowing that you were in competition with some others consultant, did it had some effects on the way you wrote your proposal? And or did you change like the way you were working on the closing of this deal?
That's a good question. Usually what I would try to do, and that we will try to do with the team, is really try to win an unfair advantage to relationship again. So say, hey, I have built this proposal based on a first conversation. What do you think? Do you think this is what your boss needs? Or if it was the CEO, even you work with him, say like, is it what you're expecting? Should we, were you expecting something else? Do you see we miss something on to be competitive? And listen and try to see if we could add that or not, right? Sometimes what they look at is something we are not ready to have right now, or like some specific dashboard they wanted. And so if they were a really big client, we would say, hey, let's build this, but like we need this gonna be ready in 6 months, right? So sometimes with Platzi it worked. This is gonna be available in 6 months, and let's start this, and in 6 months from now you have the full dashboard and so on. Sometimes it works. Sometimes they were like, look, like we think like this competitor has a better service for that, and so on. But like really like a lot of WhatsApp exchange. Christian from Platzi, he always say the CRM of LatAm is WhatsApp, and honestly I kind of agree. I don't know if you talk with your potential clients and so, but most of the time is WhatsApp, because first is email and then you're like, hey, I did that part, what do you think, should I write something, and so, and that helped. So be really close to, asking what's the best alternative if they don't take us as well is a good question to ask, that I like to ask. So when they are like, yeah, we still need to think, and you're like, okay, if you are not going with us, what is your best alternative and why? And sometimes they will not say the name, but they will say, yeah, there is this other one and they can provide us with that. And so you kind of understand if you are fighting for pricing or if you are fighting for some potential very competitive product or feature that you have and they don't have, and you kind of highlight what you have the other might not have. But if you are like, yeah, no really best alternative, or yeah, it's just like checking the order, and if they are not able to really provide explanation, usually is that they are just one that is super competitive with the price, and then super dangerous, I would say, to enter in a price war, because then like the one is going down, you go down, the one go down, and then nobody wins. Especially the US player, usually they will not change their price that much. So if in LatAm, between Latin American player, you start compete for the price, at some point you will not like be able to win the market shares in terms of volume, because US player will still keep the charge high, and they have a brand that allows them to do that. So I would rather try to compete to show the value we have as Latin American company and try to agree ourselves with our competitor from the region how we position, even it's super hard, but yes.
I have two quick questions, Julian. The first one is, I thought it was brilliant that you put a deadline on the proposal. I haven't tried that before. I was just curious about if you had any pushback or people asking around it, like, hey, why is this so? I'm just super curious about that specific part. I also read the book and find it brilliant, but I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, try to do the exercise. I'm still trying to do it better, but like, by the way, the book is Influence by Roberto Cialdini, in case I'm French. Roberto Cialdini, I mean, it's like this. Great book, honestly, read it. Super helpful in different stuff. And I was trying to say, okay, which influence factors influence the building relationship so that you gain credibility? What influence the proposal? What influence that part? And then I was thinking, okay, where you put scarcity, and like adding a deadline at the end is what could help, right? Now, to be fair, in theory, that sounds super smart and really cool. A lot, they don't ask that much about the deadline, and that's it, right? So, but mentally, I feel it gives them like, okay, they're expecting an answer next week, right? But so it kind of help them move because they want to commit. They also make you spend time doing the proposal. Reciprocity this time. They're like, she did a proposal. She have been in 3 calls with us to understand the problem. She sent it. Now she said that we need to give an answer in the next 10 days. I want to also look a credible company and give her an answer, right? So here you have reciprocity thanks to scarcity. Now sometimes they are like, at least they will say, yeah, they will say, sorry, but we still need to look at that. And my boss is on vacation and our finance. So at least the communication keeps strong. I don't know if it's thanks to this little line, but I assume it doesn't harm at least, and it helps to foster commitment as well. And they kind of think, okay, if she doesn't answer fast, probably she has other stuff to also answer. And if we don't say yes now, maybe she will have too much other mandate or so on. So yes, but that would be interesting to actually. I'm gonna ask the people I worked with if like they paid attention to that or not.
Yeah, no harm in it. And I think just the other one that I was curious about is, you said this current structure has worked for you, right? So I was wondering how many iterations it took you to get there, or how many, yeah, how many iterations it took you to get there, and if it's like, I don't know, more than three, what's the biggest part that you changed? That, for example, I didn't have my own experience in the past, and now I add it, or I used to put the objectives at the bottom. I don't know. That's interesting also.
Yeah, good question. Honestly, I guess, well, I had the chance to be at a good school with Seedstars, where I learned from former sales players and so on. So they will teach me how to do a proposal. So
Mhm.
more or less, it's kind of the same proposal, but at the beginning, it was not as clearly structured at Seedstars. And then we understood that clients usually have a specific need, which become the objective. And then if you put it first, it kind of show you both understand what we want to achieve. So putting the objective first is something we changed at the beginning. I was at Seedstars. And then honestly, the biggest modification I have done with this template, but that was already this year before I was freelance, is not doing with slide. Maybe you are really good with slides or with Canva doing slides, and great. Me, I always lose time doing that. And at the end, like, we will do like one and a half an hour working on your slide. And that didn't increase my winning when I was at Platzi or Seedstars, that I will send it in slide or in JDoc. So now I just go for the fastest way for me to build a good proposal, which is Google Doc. Probably I think Notion is a really good option as well. Probably I'm already super fluent in that. Go for it. Like, go for the thing that is the deliver great quality while you win time, because till the proposal is closed and you start working, they will don't pay you. So the hour and a half you put on doing your proposal, they will never pay you for that, right? So that's also something to have in mind. And I agree with Martin. I didn't talk that much here about like mockup or deliverable. First, it also depends a lot. Sometimes in biz dev, PR, even people in culture, I work with one about OKRs. They need less to see what you have done before, but you can put like some like bullet point with I work with that with Platzi to define the OKRs of business team, for example. I work with 3 startups at Seedstars in this program where we define the OKRs so that they see. But if you work in product or design, I think it's a must to have like a mock-up or example of what you have done. So I don't know, Martin, in which field like you're actually working, but like definitely it will never harm to add some example in the proposal.
Makes sense. Do you have any other questions? I think we're a little over time, so I want to be respectful, Julian, of your time and of everyone's. But if we have any last ones, feel free to chip in. Okay, I guess not. I think this, first of all, thanks, Julianne. This has been the longest session so far, so that speaks of the value, and a lot of us we're still in it. So thanks a lot, and I hope it was like valuable for everyone. I know it was for me. And I have all the links to all the tools you sent. So I'll be sharing the recording and add the links of the different tools and so some of the tips you shared, so everyone has them handy. And I would appreciate if you can send like some version of your structure that helps. And we'll put a disclaimer not to share it. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect, I will do it. And if other want to share example of their proposal or the tool they use, that's super helpful, honestly. And yes, thank you. Have a good afternoon, actually, everyone. And talk soon.
Have a good night, Jen.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.